Hello and welcome to Lansing Pulse. I'm Ken Miller, joined as always by City Administrator Tim Vandall. Tim, let's start with the 2022 City of Lansing budget, an update there. And we're about a month out from when the budget is usually considered and or approved by the council. We're recording this in early to mid-July. So what's the latest on the budget?
So we did our work session a couple of weeks ago, and the City Council gave us consensus to lower our property tax rate by about 0.5 mils. I know they were pretty excited about that. I think they thought it was prudent to return some money to our taxpayers and also be fiscally responsible. There's a lot of things that were approved in there, and I know they went department by department, kind of looking at what was new, what's changing, what's being decreased. So they spent a lot of time on that. One thing that I'll say regarding the decrease in the property taxes, at 0.5 mils, that would decrease a $300,000 house by about $20 per year. And a citizen was talking to me about that, and a citizen I really respect, and he kind of said, oh boy, I can almost pay for a tank of gas.
Right.
And that's true, I get his joke there. But the thing that people need to realize is that we are just one taxing entity, and in Lansing there's multiple. So for instance, in Lansing, if the county was able to do something, school district was able to do something, FD1 was able to do something, maybe instead of a $20 savings per year, maybe it could go down a little bit more, who knows. But that's just the city's share is about $20 per year. Some of the items that are included in the budget, we approved last year a public safety pay study. We've talked a little bit about how challenging it is to attract and retain good police officers, and so we implemented a public safety pay study. That's going to be implemented in 2022. We're talking about purchasing a new skid loader for the street department next year, along with a trailer, so that's going to be a large-scale expense. We're looking at painting and recarpeting this building that we're in right now, especially the library portion. That's going to take place next year. Another thing that sometimes people forget, we're allocating $940,000 for public works related improvements next year. That's repaving roads, redoing some drainage pipes, curbs and gutters and sidewalks and things like that. So almost $1 million of this budget will go to public works related infrastructure expenses. And it's been interesting lately too, regarding drainage pipes and things like that. Just in the last few weeks, it seems like we've had a few really major drainage pipes pop up and start to show issues, and one of them, there's a little sinkhole that's being created. And the thing is that we're starting to learn is some of these areas where it's taking place, the pipes are about 30 years old.
Right.
And 30 years, I wonder if that's kind of the lifespan for those types of pipes. So, I mean, those types of things, especially if they go underneath a road, they're incredibly expensive. So there's a lot of projects like that in next year's budget. But again, I know the council was really excited that we're going to be able to lower our property tax rate by about $0.5 mil.
All right, anything new on the American Recovery Act funding distribution to Lansing? And I guess not only Lansing, but also other localities like Leavenworth County in the area.
Yeah. Lansing is currently slated to receive about $1.8 million in American Rescue Plan funds. And most of the discussions that we've had so far revolve around improvements to broadband access in Lansing, as well as wastewater projects in Lansing. And with broadband, I know there's probably certain pockets of town that are a little bit slower than other parts and are maybe a little bit underserved on internet. So we're looking at ways where we can target certain areas to improve their internet service and speed it up and improve the reliability citywide. Regarding wastewater, I know there's a few different options there. We're looking to use the American Rescue Plan funds for wastewater projects that can hopefully spark growth, but also improve our infrastructure a little bit. We're trying to narrow down some certain projects that we want to do, but again, that was the direction that we were given from the City Council, is look for projects that improve our sewer infrastructure, but also look for projects that can spark some growth in Lansing.
All right, I always ask you about a development update, and a lot of the last few times we've done this, we've talked about what's happening more or less on the north end of town. Let's start today with Town Center. I mean, it's something that just about everybody drives past every day, a couple times a day. What can you tell us about Town Center at this point?
So we've received a site plan for a medical-related building in Town Center, and I think that's going to be heard at an upcoming Planning Commission meeting. So it's not a retail-related business quite yet, but I will tell you, I've seen the plans. They look fabulous. I think it's going to be a building that once it starts coming up out of the ground, I think people are going to get excited about it, and I think some prospects are going to drive by it and realize, hey, this is new jobs, this is a beautiful new building in Town Center, and we think it'll get more people kicking the tires on Town Center.
So possibly a magnet for other development?
We're hoping, whether it's a magnet or just something that gets people excited and realizing that it's a desirable property on K7, which has 30,000 vehicles per day. But regardless, again, we're incredibly excited about it. Beyond that, though, the city has owned Town Center since I want to say October, and we've probably had more meetings in the last month or so than we've had the previous 5 years I was here, and really promising prospects. And I'll tell you too, Mayor McNeil and the City Council, they've really directed us to leave no stone unturned. So if someone contacts us, we're going to reach out to them and say, hey, what are your ideas? What can we do to help you out? And so we've had some really positive meetings, and we can't go into too many more specifics other than that. But we're really excited, and I think the next couple of years, people are going to see a lot of things going on out there.
All right, you've alluded to this a little bit with some of your public works related comments early on, but I know just being around town this week, Lansing crews started on a lot of curb work. What other maintenance type work can be expected this summer here in town?
There's just going to be a significant amount of concrete curb and gutter work throughout town. We're going to see a lot of roads being paved and mill and overlaid, that type of work. And every year we send out 3 or 4 guys to go through every roadway in Lansing. And they might be looking for spider cracks or ruts or potholes or whatever. And we implement those things into a big street department matrix. It basically grades all of our streets in town, and then that kind of tells us how we decide which street we want to do. And
kind of a priority list.
Exactly, it's our priority list. So the one thing that I would tell people too is, even if your street isn't on there this year, if it's not in good shape, there's a pretty good chance it'll be on there next year. But Mike Spickelmeyer does a good job going out there. He's out in the field with his guys, checking on those things. Kelly Hanna, and then our current street superintendent and our future street superintendent, Jeff Folk and Kenny Payne, they've been out there looking at all of the streets as well. And it's really going to be a quality project when it's done. Again, it's like $700,000 worth of improvements for this year. But it'll create a few delays, I suppose, if the road right in front of your house is being asphalted. But it'll be a really quality project when it's done. But it is a substantial amount of asphalt work.
Okay. All right, on July 3rd, we had our Independence Day's fireworks show, and it was back out at Bernard Park this year. And I was going to ask, what are some of the highlights there, the music and the fireworks show? I think everybody that I talked to, and I was there for the early part of it, was enjoying themselves. But of course, we had that weather-related snafu that kind of forced our hand, and we had to prohibit public parking for the most part at the event. Talk a little bit about the event and how we kind of had to pivot from that.
Yeah, you're right. It was a last-minute curveball because we had 4 or 5 inches of rain last week, and the field where people normally park, it was too saturated. So we had to make that change about 2 days before the event took place, and we ended up having 6 shuttle buses, 3 from Lansing Elementary and 3 from Lansing High School, shuttle all of the people back and forth from the schools to Bernard Park. And 99.9% of people just did a fantastic job. They were patient, and I want to say when people were leaving, maybe there was a little bit of a backup, but at the same time, even when people are driving their own cars, they get backed up a little bit too anyway. Yeah. So based on that, I think they were estimating we had about 3,000 people, and so a really good turnout. The other thing that I want to say too, though, Blaine Howard is probably the most prominent musician we've ever had at a Lansing event, and he did a fantastic job. And I've been listening to some of his music on Spotify, and I really like his music. He's just fantastic. Shayla Combs also did an awesome job.
She's local.
She's local, and yeah, she was terrific. And then we had so many great rides, and not to mention the actual fireworks show. That was spectacular as well. So, you know, hats off to Matt Schmitz, hats off to you and your department. You guys did an awesome job organizing this thing and, you know, rolling with the weather-related punches too. Just couldn't be more proud of how that event turned out. And just really thankful that it turned out so well.
One thing I wanted to bring up too, and we're still now a year away from having this event again around the beginning of July. Things are going to be happening, we hope, out at Kenneth Bernard Park. Things are going to be happening, it sounds like, hopefully out at Town Center. What do you, and again, this could change, I'm asking you to kind of look in a crystal ball, but the event itself, what could we potentially expect given we don't know exactly where it might be next year?
Well, you know, the fact that this year went so well, that could be a template for what the event will look like in the future. It's possible that, you know, we might not have public parking out there, and it might be 100% shuttle buses again.
And not weather related, but because we have development.
Not weather related, but because we want to build some new baseball fields out there. You're exactly right. So that's one of those things too, to any citizen out there, you know, let us know what you think about that. Let the city council know what you think about that, because we want that citizen feedback. But quite frankly, I mean, you hit on it earlier. If we're constructing millions of dollars worth of ball fields out there, there's really not a place to park. But again, since this year went so well, maybe that is a template of what we want to do, where we consolidate, you know, the food trucks into one area, we consolidate the rides into one area. And again, up until the, you know, that last 15 minutes or half an hour where people had to wait to get back to the schools, it seemed like the shuttle buses went really well. And I think, you know, that's something that we can build on for next year and continue to improve. But again, I think we want to hear that citizen feedback about what we can do to continue to improve that event.
All right, I've been speaking with Lansing City Administrator Tim Vandall. For Lansing Pulse, I'm Ken Miller.